Hello dear students, so today we are going to learn about one important part of the human body, that is heart. Okay, so when we study about heart, we are going to learn about what is its significance and what is it made up of. Okay, before moving on to the heart, we should know a few stuff, or we can say a few basic stuff about heart and where it is originated from and all the stuff. Okay, so when we speak about heart, we should know that it is mesodermal origin. So when we speak about mesodermal origin, we should know that what is a mesoderm first. So what is a mesoderm, right? So during embryonic development, there will be three layers, okay, which will be formed. One is ectoderm, second one is mesoderm, and third one is endoderm. So when you study about these three words, you should mainly know that the derm means the layer of the skin, and ecto means its outside, meso means present in the middle, and endo means present inside. Okay, so each of these layers will gives rise to different organs. So when we consider only about heart, we can say that it is mesodermal origin, right? So what is the weight of the heart? Okay, right? In males, it is approximately, and also before we move on to this, the heart present in a boy and in a girl are both different, in terms of weight. Okay, in males it is approximately 280 grams to 320 gram. But if you consider a female or a girl, it is approximately 230 gram to 280 gram. Okay, now we learned about where it is originated from, origin, and we learned about weight, and now we are going to learn about the location where it is present. Okay, so during the lower classes, for example, in 8th grade and 9th grade and also in 10th grade, you have learned that, and all the teachers must have said that it is present in the left side, right? It is present on the left side, or in the middle of the heart, in the middle of the cavity, right? But now we're going to learn about the exact location, how it is present, and what is its, why the heart actually, how it fits inside the thoracic cavity. Got it? So let me draw the structure of lungs first, because without this you will not be able to understand how it is located. Okay. So let me draw this lung first, and then and I'll explain you. Okay. Before moving on to this one, I want you to know that I want you to observe this one point, this dip in the left lung. Okay, and this space present between the lungs. Okay, because the heart will be present in this manner. The blue areas, it is present in this manner. So we can call it as it is present at the center. But you might be wondering why I'm saying it is present in the center, because from the salute you learned that it is present on the left. Okay, I will give you the exact reason why I'm saying it's center. Okay, so 1/3 of the heart is present on the right side, and 2/3 of the heart is present on the left side, and it is tilted towards the left. It is tilted towards the left. Okay, and also this cardiac notch is there, right? This cardiac notch, this part. Okay, let me draw it again once again. This is the lung. I'm just gonna draw the left lung. This is cardiac notch, right? Cardiac notch, this one. So one second. This cardiac notch, it's called as cardiac notch. So before moving on to next topic, wait, let me show you one more thing, that is the structure of the heart. So this is heart, right? I'm just saying approximately this will be having right ventricle, right auricle, left auricle, right ventricle, and left ventricle. So this part of the heart is called as apex, and this apex will be located in this region. Okay, in this region. So due to the presence of, you can say like poking of the apex part of the heart, this cardiac knots will be formed. Okay, so now we got to know about why this cardiac knots will be present, and you got to know about what is the actual position of the heart, and you got to know about the weight, you got to know about the origin, right? So now we are mainly going to study about a few parts of the heart. For example, first I'm going to start with layers of the heart. Okay, but before moving on to this one, I want to let you know that in NCERT textbook, all they have given is pericardium, which will be in two terms. One is visceral pericardium, and parietal pericardium, which will be present outside, and this is present inside. And in between these two, there will be a space that is called as pericardial space, which will be filled with pericardial fluid. So what is the main significance of this pericardial fluid? That it acts as shock absorber. So what is the exact meaning of shock absorber? For example, you'll be having shock absorber in bikes, right? You'll be having shock absorbers in bike. So what is the use of shock absorber? Because it protects you and also the bike. Just understand the logic, okay? Bikes will be having shock absorber because it will protect the bike and your body from mechanical injuries. Right? The same way, the pericardial fluid will protect you from mechanical injuries. Okay, but we are going to study little more in detail about these layers. So just keep an eye on the screen. I'm going to draw one by one. So I'm going to explain you one by one. Let me label this one. This is called as epicardium. Okay, this is inside, and this is, I'm going to wait. Let me tell you. Here in this part, there will be presence of blood. This is called as epicardium, and the second layer is called as myocardium. Epicardium is called as epicardium because it is present on the inside, but it is a top layer. And myocardium is called as myocardium because it is in the middle. Okay, after that, now the actual thing comes, whatever there is in NCERT. Okay, so after this myocardium, you can say there is one more layer. This layer is called as visceral pericardium. Okay, now you can see, right? So this visceral pericardium and this pericardium are same. And then there's one more layer, not layer, you can say like this is a space. So this space is called as pericardial space, which will be filled with pericardial fluid. This dotted thing is actually the fluid present inside the pericardial space, okay, which will actually help you in the survival whenever you get a mechanical injury. It's called as pericardial fluid. And after this, there's one more layer. This layer is called as parietal pericardium. It's present on the outside, as you see in the NCRT. Okay, and after this, there's one more layer, the last and outermost layer. I'm gonna label it like this. This is called as fibrous pericardium. This is called as fibrous pericardium. So before moving on to this, I'll explain it again. The inner layer is called as epicardium, okay, which is present on the inside and also on the top. And here in this part, there will be presence of blood, okay, where pumping actually takes place. And then this is called as, and this layer is called as myocardium. Okay, after this there will be presence of visceral pericardium, and below visceral pericardium will be presence of pericardial space, which will be having pericardial fluid, which will protect us from mechanical injury. And then after that there will be parietal pericardium, and then at the end there will be presence of fibrous pericardium. Got it? So next we're gonna move on to the diagram of the heart. Okay, I'm gonna explain how it works. So let me draw the diagram first. Let me draw the diagram first, 1 second. Okay, this is the approximate diagram because this is not exactly how it looks, but I just want you guys to understand. That's why I'm just simplifying it. Actually, this is too big. Let me just draw it again. And this side, there will be presence of one more ventricle. Okay, now let's label this one. This is right auricle, left auricle, and this is right ventricle, left ventricle. Okay, so as you can see here, it is divided into two parts. One is left half and second one is right half. This is right side and this is left side. Okay, before moving on to this one, these chambers are actually separated by some septum, right? We're going to speak about septum first. Okay, first thing that you should know about the division is about septum. So when you learn about septum, there is a septum present between two auricles, like right auricle and left auricle. This is septum, okay? Septum. And that septum is called as interatrial septum. So now we got to know about the septum which divides two auricles. And now let's use the same logic for right ventricle and left ventricle. It is interventricular septum. Okay, so now we learned about separation of auricles and separation of ventricles. Now we should also know that there is one more septum which is present and which divides auricles on the one side and ventricles on the vent side, and this is called as atrioventricular atrioventricular septum. Okay, so these are the three septums. One is interatrial septum, interventricular septum and atrioventricular septum. So now we learned about septum, right? So second one, what you should know is the heart has four chambers, right? Chambers are four in number, two auricles and two ventricles. Okay, auricles, one is right, one is left. The same goes to ventricles, one is right, one is left. Got it? You got to know about ventricles now and also auricles. So the oxygenated blood, the oxygenated blood will come and fall into the left atrium, and then it is pushed to it is pushed to left ventricle, and then from left ventricle it is going to leave the heart, leave the heart. So this is all about oxygenated blood. And what about deoxygenated blood? It comes to right auricle, and then it is pushed into right ventricle, and then again it will be sent out of the heart. So let's come to the diagram again. So from where does this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood actually comes to the heart, right? There will be two pairs of blood vessels called as pulmonary vein. But as you know that veins always carry deoxygenated blood, right? But this is the exception. Pulmonary vein is the only vein which carries oxygenated blood to the left auricle. And then, let me erase this first, wait. And then to the right auricle, the blood actually comes from, it's called as vena cava. So the lower vena cava, or you can call it as inferior vena cava, brings the blood from lower part of the body, and the same way the superior vena cava brings the blood from upper part of the body. One is lower part of the body and second one is upper part of the body. Okay, so this is what you got to know. And then next you can wait 1 second. Okay, so now you got to know about it goes inside, the deoxygenated blood goes inside the right auricle and right ventricle, right? And oxygenated blood into left atrium and left ventricle. So now you're mainly learning about one more thing, that is valves. So what is a valve, right? You should know what is valve. So valve will be present here at this location. And what is the significance of valve? Because something should be there, right? As a cap kind of structure, cap, because it will help in the movement of blood from auricles to ventricles, but prevents the flow of blood from ventricles back into auricles. That is the main purpose of these valves. Okay, so now when we learn about valves, right auricle to right ventricle, there is something called as tricuspid valve. So when I say tricuspid valve, why it is called as tricuspid valve? Assume this is the valve. It will be divided into these three things. This one, this is two, and this is third one. Okay, so this one, two, and three things, these three things, this one, and this one are together called as valves. Okay, or else you can call it as like three coverings which will complete on completely close when the blood flows from auricles to ventricles. Okay, and it is present in three. Okay, and now the same way it goes to the left auricle to the left ventricle, right? So when you learn about left auricle to left ventricle, let me draw it again. So there will be bicuspid valve. Okay, this is one and this is two. So this is bi bicuspid valve, also called as mitral valve. See, this can also be called as valves, also can be called as cusps. Okay, this is called as cusps. Okay, so now this is about heart, and you learned about septum, and then you learned about chambers, and then you learned about valves. But this is just the entry of the valve, right? Because the blood is going from auricle to ventricle and auricle to ventricle. But what happens when it actually leaves the heart? Okay, this should be something to leave the heart, right? So let me draw it again. Let me draw the heart, or else let me just draw the ventricles. This is right ventricle and this is left ventricle. From right ventricle, there's a nerve that goes out, and from the left ventricle, there's one more nerve, or you can say blood vessel, that goes out like this. Okay, so the one which goes out from the right ventricle is called as pulmonary artery. So as you already know that arteries will always carry oxygenated blood, but this is the only exception, which is pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood. And this one, the blood vessel which comes from the left ventricle, it's called as aorta, which will be approximately 3 centimeter to 5 centimeter in diameter. Okay, so you learned about the blood vessels through which the blood actually comes out of both the ventricles, right? And the specific names. So now we learned about valves, right? From where auricles and their and its blood will come into ventricles through valve. One is tricuspid valve and second is bicuspid valve. But now, while going out of the ventricle, even there are also valves that will be present. Okay, for example, let me just show you this point. So at this location, there will be valves that will be present, and these valves are called as semi lunar valves. Why they are called as semi lunar valves? Because their shape is actually, it looks like half moon, right? That is the reason why they are called as semi lunar valves. Okay, so now we learnt about the parts of the heart, and also you should know that the heart conducts electricity, right? if we speak more specifically, it has specific components and parts inside the heart where the electrical impulse is actually generated. So let me just draw the diagram again, and I'll explain you how it actually works. Okay, this is heart and outer layer, and then let me draw it with the blue. So here this is the right ventricle, right auricle, and then there is left ventricle and right, sorry, not my bad, this is right auricle, right. For a moment I'm going to erase this because I have to draw something here. Okay, so there is something called as sinoatrial node. There's something called as sinoatrial node which will be present on the right top corner of the right ventricle. So when you see the actual angle, this is the right top corner of the right auricle, right top corner of the right auricle. I think I made a mistake while saying this one. I said SN will be present in the right ventricle, right? No, no, no. It is present in the right auricle. Okay. If you see more specifically, right top corner of the right auricle. Okay, and this one more patch of cells present on the left bottom corner of the right auricle. It is called as atrioventricular node, and also let me label it. This is called as sinus node, which is a specialized cell of cardiac muscle. Okay, specialized cell of cardiac muscle, which will be different in structure and all those things, okay, compared to the actual fibers or the cardiac fibers of the heart. Okay, so this is sinus node and this is atrioventricular node, can also be called as AV node. Okay, and then what happens? There will be a bundle of His. Let me draw it with a different color. There is something called as bundle of His which will arise from the AVN, and then it is going to divide into left and right bundle of His. Let me draw it perfectly 1 second. Which is going to divide into left and right. I'm not going to make it very specific. I'll just draw 2 lines. Okay, and it's gonna wrap the ventricles around, and at the end there'll be small fibers kind of structures which will actually cover the ventricle, and is a very thin in structure. Okay, and these are called as Purkinje fibers. Okay, so these are called as Purkinje fibers. So now you learnt about SAN, AVN, bundle of His. Let me label it. Bundle of His and Purkinje fibers, and also the bundle of His divides into left and right. A bundle of His, and this SAN and AVN and bundle of His and also Purkinje fibers are all made up of same kind of cells. Okay, same kind of cells, but if you compare the cells of these specialized cells of cardiac muscle and the actual structure and actual fibers of the muscle which are present in auricles and ventricles, both are different. So for example, if you consider a muscle fiber of auricle or ventricle, this, consider like this, and it is, the diameter is approximately 15 millimeter. But if you see the length of or the diameter of the cardiac fiber, which is present, which consists of which constitutes the SAN bundle of his AV node and Purkinje fibers, it is 3 millimeter to 5 millimeter. So this is the size of cardiac muscle diameter compared to auricles and ventricles and all the muscles which include in conduction of heartbeat, which is the conduction of heartbeat. Okay, so now we learned about all these hearts and its parts, right? So I hope I covered everything. So let me just check once. So septum and ventricles, valves, and exit through which through which the blood actually goes out, and the SAN, AVN, and bundle of his Purkinje fibers and size of the fibers. Okay, so as of now, I'm gonna end the video because this is all the heart constitutes as of, according to. So this is all about heart we're gonna speak today, and in the next class, in the next class, we are going to mainly study about sinoatrial node, atrioventricular node, and how the electrical impulse will be generated. Okay, we are going to speak about this in the next class. Okay, then see you guys. Thank you so much.